Cancer, this is going to be your February 2019 reading, general reading. I'm feeling a teeny bit disheveled today, but I am going to try to pull this off for you without rambling too much. I'm kind of feeling rambling today with my mind, but I'm going to try to do this well for you. This is for Cancer rising, Cancer sun, Cancer moon, and Cancer's best, highest good, along with whatever you guys needed to hear about. So I'm going to show you your basic layout first and then get started. As usual, I'm using the spiral deck for your basic layout. And for clarifiers this month, I decided to use this tiny deck called the Wildwood Tarot. And so your central experience for February is the Chariot. That's your major arcana card. That's really good to me to see there. Your challenge is the Two of Swords. You have a lot of swords in here. What is helping you is the King of Cups. At the root of your being, you have the Princess of Pentacles. Come on, buddy. Be good. In what you're coming away from, thank goodness, is the Eight of Swords. My dog's being whiny all of a sudden. We'll see what happens. I may have to pause this. Your best possible outcome, very nice, is the Six of Pentacles. In the near future, or what is coming up for you, is the Four of Wands. You presently are going through the Ten of Swords, but this is better than it seems with the clarifier. In your surroundings, you have the Eight of Pentacles. Two cards came out for this one. Your fear is of the Seven of Swords, obviously. And your hope is in stark contrast to that. You have the Nine of Cups. And your general outcome is the Queen of Pentacles. She's been coming out quite a bit for people so far for February. Makes me wonder what Capricorns are up to, because this is the Capricorn court card. Okay. Hopefully you guys are well. Your central experience for February seems to be that you are gracefully moving forward. That's really nice, actually. You have the Chariot, which is your major arcana card, with the Queen of Swords, which in this deck is the Swan. And I like this version of the Queen of Swords. It really shows me a sense of graceful communication, of grace. That communication does not necessarily have to be a very sharp thing. It can be extremely graceful and smooth. This is telling me that possibly in the recent past, as you've been going down the road in your chariot, you may have encountered a lot of bumps along the way, or possibly gotten lost on some side streets that you didn't expect yourself to get lost on. Or you've had some car troubles along the way. You've had troubles with having the way be smooth. But I see for February, things are smoothing out. Things are gracefully moving forward. It's like if you've been on a dirt country road filled with rocks and gravel and lots of ups and downs and hills. You are jiggling and jumping and it's not a smooth ride. It's not easy to drive in that kind of conditions. You have to constantly have your eye on what you're doing. With this is leading me to believe that this has turned into a smooth, paved road for a very long distance where you can put your car on, what's that word? Auto drive? Is that what it's called? Cruise control. You can put your vehicle in cruise control where you basically don't even really have to pay very much attention to what you're doing because you're smoothly moving forward. And because you're smoothly moving forward, you can actually go a lot faster than before. When you're on rocky, bumpy roads that have lots of dips in it or potholes, you have to go a little bit slower than you normally would want to because you have to pay attention and make sure you don't lose control. But this looks really nice. This seems as if the worst is over as far as you getting someplace. And by getting someplace, I mean your goals or where you're trying to take yourself in your life. Okay. Had to cut it off for a second. Also, I can read this as you're becoming very clear-headed, as in how you communicate and how you think. If your mind was confused or muddled before, it looks as if you're seeing things much clearer now, and you're able to smoothly move forward with communication, with saying articulately where you're at, what you're doing, and how you perceive things, but in a way that other people take in a lot. It's speaking in a way that comes from a place of love, or comes from a place of grace or acceptance, and so other people automatically respond to this in a similar chord where they're more easily able to take in what you're actually saying. Or, yeah, I think we're going to leave it there. I'm trying not to ramble too much. So, your challenge to that. You have the Two of Swords and you have the Queen of Cups, which in this deck is the Salmon. This is another card that belongs to you. This is the Court card that belongs to you, the Queen of Cups. I like this version of it. If you look at both of these cards, you can easily see how both of the beings that are in the cards are doing almost impossible feats. Both of them. One is definitely much more precarious than the other one. The other one just involves sheer strength and willpower, which kind of reminds me of the Chariot, really. They're both going someplace. In the Salmon is doing something seemingly impossible by leaping up against the current in order to get back to its home. This is a good animal to have as the Queen of Cups because it's all about home. It's all about emotional comfort or going back to your safe place or going back home, going back to your own self. And the Salmon is a powerful fish that defies gravity and defies the current and is determined to get back home to the point of going against the current for miles and miles and miles in order to reach its spawning place. In the Two of Swords, she is trying to move forward to get from, I'm guessing that this tightrope is connected to two cliffs because she seems very high up above the ocean there. She might have stepped off of a cliff, kind of like the Fool, on one end, and she's very precariously, carefully trying to get to the other cliff, which in this seems almost more impossible than the Salmon. The Salmon is possible with sheer focus, strength, and willpower, but the Two of Swords is a really dangerous feeling. It's almost a paralyzing feeling. And if you notice, not only is she balancing two swords and she's very high up in the air and she's on a tightrope, she's blindfolded. You know, I suppose if you ever go to a circus, if you watch the tightrope walkers, I don't think that they look at the tightrope. I think that they somehow find the way to move forward without looking at what their feet are doing. Okay, I'm gonna have to go deal with my dog. Hang on. Okay. So I think you see what I'm getting at here as far as all that. But basically, for some of you, I'm getting even something as specific as you're trying to make your way back home. And that home could be inside of yourself or outside of yourself. Yeah, you're trying to get back to a emotional feeling or an actual place that you haven't been back to in a long time. This could be wanting to go back to your home, the lands that you grew up on, or to see your family again, or see a loved one again, or there's definitely some place you're trying to go. And at least the road is going to be so much smoother this month, and your ability to move forward will become so much easier than it has been. But it seems as though your challenge is that you're kind of on a constant loop in your own mind on how that's logically possible. I would just tell you, try not to get locked up in your mind this month. You have a lot of swords in this reading, and a lot of them are not very good sword cards. It seems as though if there's anything that's stopping you this month, it's your own mind, or trying to rationalize things, or be logical about things, or to try to linearly make sense out of things. That doesn't really seem possible this month, and so you may just want to give in to your instincts and also trust and faith, rather than getting caught up with strategies or how in the world you're actually going to do this logistically. You may become aware that you're capable of things that you never thought you were capable of, or you have sudden leaps of progress that happen this month, and the only thing that's really stopping you from accepting this is your own logical mind of possibly doubts or fears or feelings of being stuck in how you're perceiving things. I would just say let your instincts guide you rather than your logical mind this month. And it could be, obviously this is a challenge, but this isn't stopping you, and this isn't something that you can work your way through or work with. It's just a challenge. So I would just say try not to overthink things. Or remain stuck in your own mind on what you think is possible for you. There's a lot more possible for you than you realize. And the only thing that's stopping you is your own mind. Okay, so what is helping you is the King of Cups with the King of Swords, which in this is a hawk. This is really interesting, you guys. It seems as though your powers of perception or the powers of your intuition or even downright psychic ability is increasing dramatically. And not only that, you have more control over where it takes you or what you're getting, more clarity, more emotional control. Because you have more emotional control of yourself, you're receiving more psychic messages than before. And as long as you trust this ability of yours, there's something in this that's telling me that what is helping you this month is to be a messenger for others. It may be that in the past you have seen certain things, but remained silent about what you saw. Or perhaps you decided to give situations or people the benefit of the doubt and not necessarily make up your mind on what you are really receiving about things. But it seems as though what's helping you is to speak your mind now, or to be a communicator or a messenger for others based off of what you see. And this will have profound effects on people. People are profoundly moved by the things that you say. It may come off at times as being sharp, but it's the kind of sharp that has a purpose. It's not a kind of sharp that is deliberately cutting people apart. It's a sharpness that every now and then all of us need at certain moments in order to snap us out of something. This can also be true of yourself as well. What is helping you is to do this for yourself, to pay more attention to what you perceive. And by emotional mastery, or control of your own emotions, I mean governing your emotions, where you acknowledge all of your emotions, but you also control the flow. As in, if you catch yourself worrying, or you catch yourself being angry, or you catch yourself on a loop in your own head concerning what's possible for you, this is mindfully, equally using your mind with your emotions, where you're able to talk yourself out of it or to guide it with your thoughts, where you can say, okay, you feel anger. This is you talking to yourself. You feel anger, or you feel confusion, or you feel sadness. Feel it. See where possibly that comes from. But then move on and decide to go in the emotional direction that you want to go, rather than staying there in that sadness or dwelling on it or trying to overly make sense out of it. Instead, feel it and choose to go in a different direction that leads you to an emotion that you need or want at that moment. It's evolvement. In other words, emotional evolvement, where your emotions are constantly flowing rather than becoming stagnant in any way. It may be that you become aware of certain aspects of your nature, and by being honest with yourself, or you're hearing messages from spirit more, direct, clear messages from spirit, and you are strong enough in yourself to accept what they say and to ponder it, learn the lessons from it, and use it to move on. So this is what's helping you. At your root, you have the Princess of Pentacles with the World. This is telling me that you have been experimenting with making money using your skills or creating something. You've been learning new techniques or learning new methods or trying something, a new business or a new skill that you have never really mastered before, or you've always wanted to learn. You've come along enough with it now where it looks as though you've reached the moment where you realize it's going to continue. When you've planted a seed, especially for a tree, it takes a certain amount of time and nurturing for it to grow into a sapling. Saplings are delicate. Anything young is delicate. If you live in a harsh climate like I do, it's a wait and see thing on whether that sapling is really going to make it through the actual natural elements. You can take care of it and nurture it and get it to a certain point, but whether or not it's actually going to survive in the wild, there comes a time where it reaches adolescence, and you have to be able to let it go and see if it will make it on its own. And it could be in an alternate reality, the sapling could hit a harsh winter where the frosts are just too much for it, and it doesn't end up making it to the next year. But what I'm getting from this is it has reached that moment of initiation, of where you're realizing now it's going to make it in the wild. It made it through the winter and it's still alive. And because it made it through its first wild winter without being protected, you know that it will survive now and that it's not going anywhere. And not only that, you've nurtured it to a certain extent now where it no longer needs your nurturance as much as it did before. And so now it can kind of take over and do its own thing, where you can step away and start putting some of your energy into other projects or other things because it's stable now. So this also even reminds me of something as simple as graduation, where you've reached a certain level of mastery with what you've been learning, that now you're moving to the next level with it. As in, you could imagine this young lady in the card has just graduated from grammar school and is now going into middle school. Even though it's probably still the same school, she's moved up a notch where now she's in a completely different realm rather than before. She's learned the basics. Now she's learning more and more and more and can apply more and more knowledge than before. So this is where you're at in your core. In the recent past, you have the Eight of Swords in with the Tower. I'm actually getting a really good, if sudden, jolting message from this, which is that, again, at certain moments you've gotten caught up in your own head, or you felt limited with what was possible for you, or what you were capable of, or what in the world you were actually doing, or how to get out of where you were before in order to be able to evolve or move on. But it looks as if the universe took care of it for you. This no longer was able to even be able to work anymore, and it's almost like the lightning struck your head and snapped you out of it so fast. It may have been shocking or came out of nowhere, or you weren't expecting this, but it ends up freeing you from those bindings and from that blindfold. Even though the person is being knocked out of the tree, chances are she is falling head first. Let's see where she's falling to. About to fall into a crack. Where you were before in your own mind, you have been snapped out of it by the universe. You were no longer able to even try to do that. Not that you would ever try to do that, but it just seems as though you had a huge awakening that snapped you out of something you weren't supposed to be in anyway. Maybe you had a shocking revelation or a shocking message come to you that made you realize that you weren't trapped. Or that trapped feeling has been ongoing off and on, and now the universe has snapped you out of it where you're not even able to do that to yourself anymore. Things are changing, have been changing dramatically recently. And you realize that this was no longer going to work if you were going to survive. Both of these are precarious, kind of. This is reminding me of this. These are reminding me of these. Even though this is still somewhat of a challenge, it's not anything compared as a challenge to what you're coming away from. So it seems as though you've had a huge breakthrough already. And now it's just a matter of fine-tuning the rest of it and smoothly moving, continuing to believe and accept the fact that things are getting smoother now and that you will no longer be in a perilous situation anymore. It's almost like you weren't sure if you would make it. You weren't sure. I mean, look at these. Look at this. I know I'm rambling. I can't help it. The person is on fire, falling headfirst into a crack. This does not look like he's going to make it. And before that happened, he was blindfolded, stuck in a swamp, and bound up with sharp swords all around. Both of these situations it's a feeling of, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to survive. But this is what you're coming from. And even though this is a challenge, I'm getting more of a feeling that you're going to make it. Even though the tightrope situation is quite precarious as well. The salmon is giving me hope here that even though you survived the worst of it, and now you're smoothly moving forward. It's almost like a feeling of disbelief I'm getting, almost as if you almost can't believe this. Or if you do believe in this, you're afraid that if it doesn't work out, you're going to collapse. But you can believe in this. Things are getting much better. And so your best possible outcome is the Six of Pentacles with the Five of Cups, which in this is called ecstasy. I like this version of it. Because really, the traditional tarot, especially with decks like the Rider-Waite, they tend to kind of cast the worst light on the number 5. The number 5 does not have to be a challenge necessarily. It's about growth, or it's about change. It's an odd number. 5 is the number of manipulation, and that being a neutral word. If you think of the number 5, which is our hands, it's ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the only planet that's neutral. He is neither good nor bad. He's able to go into any of the different realms. It's about the power of the mind. The number 5, which is mirrored in pentacles, really. In the tarot, most pentacles have that 5-pointed star inside. So really, your best possible outcome is that because you have been going with what's helping you, or because you are going to go with what is helping you, which is emotional mastery, or gently guiding your own emotions into areas where they can express themselves or continue to flow rather than becoming stagnant or stuck. And because you've been listening to your intuition as what's helping you, or you've been trusting your ability to be a messenger, or to even gracefully accept messages that come your way on how you can best transform. This is a Scorpio card, by the way. Because you decided to govern your govern is kind of a weird use, to guide your emotions down channels so that they can continue to flow and move. And because you have been trying your best to be flexible, it looks as if you have a huge reward. And you're being given a great gift, and that's movement. Free movement that comes easily. Realizing that how you've guided your thoughts and your emotions have created your reality, and this is the great thing that you've been waiting for all this time through all your hard work and efforts. And you haven't given up, and because of that, and because you've been trying your best to stay positive, you're about to have some kind of a huge gift, or you're about to have a huge flow. It's like things got dammed up energetically for a bit there, where you weren't sure if they were ever going to flow. And then all of a sudden the dam breaks and a huge gush of water gushes out, and you realize not only are things flowing now, they're making up for lost time. They're gushing in. And every gush of water that comes in breaks the dam down more and more and more, where it's going to be almost impossible to build that dam again. And so things are going to continue to recirculate and flow. This can be flow of money, flow of prosperity, a flow of mutual encouragement, mutual upliftment. You're being met by the universe now, where you're seeing yourself being given back to. I feel as if you have poured a lot of your energy into something. And perhaps because you were learning as you went, it didn't exactly bring in that much in return back from what you were doing. But as your best possible outcome, it looks as if you get a huge return. You get a huge return. And you're able to take that extra energy or extra coins or extra energy that you have to simply just relax and have fun and do the things that you used to do all the time before you poured so much of your energy into this. What am I trying to say? We'll get to it because there's things coming up. So expect to be given back to in spades. And because all of a sudden you're going to have an increase, you'll be able to have extra time to celebrate. What you're coming up to is 2 4s. You have the 4 of Pentacles and the 4 of Wands. 4s are stability and a foundation, building a solid skeleton or a solid structure so that you can continue to nurture and grow on top of that, and that will always hold you up. With the 4 of Wands, this is celebration of moving something to the next level where you know it's stable now. There was something else in here. Yeah, it was this. This was talking about this at your root. About now things have gotten to a point where they've survived, and because they have survived this initial period, this means that it's most likely going to be able to keep on growing and becoming something really strong. I'm getting a celebration of that in the future because things are moving forward so much more smoothly and easily now with these two. It's a reason to celebrate. It almost feels like a breakthrough or a graduation of sorts. But the other one, the 4 of Stones, is a little baby fawn being sheltered and protected underneath the rocks, and the name of the card is Protection. And I can almost see this as a story. You can imagine this couple that had just recently gotten married. They're on their honeymoon now. Let's say they had their wedding. They've celebrated the mark of the permanent birth, the birth of something stable. And they go on their honeymoon, let's say, to Ireland. And while they're in Ireland, they're hiking out in the valleys, checking out the castles, the standing stones. And they come across this clearing where there are these stones and this baby fawn in there. And it's almost like you can hear them saying, "Oh my goodness, it's a little baby fawn. You know, is it hurt? Is it wounded? Is it okay? Where's its mother?" This is reminding me of you guys, you Cancers. Where's its mother? And you could, I'm going to say that this couple is a wise couple. If they're a wise couple, then they're probably going to realize that the fawn has been placed there deliberately by its mother because she had to go do something. And she knew that he was less likely to be seen by others or predators if she hid him inside these stones. So let's say this couple is wise and they wait around for a little bit just to make sure that its mother comes back. Otherwise, they're going to take care of it or figure out what to do with it. And its mother deer does come back and comes and collects her fawn from the stones. There's a reason why the mother deer put her baby there. It's because he's protected there. And so because the saplings are proving that they can stay and survive. This is an interesting time. You've got, in the near future, you've got your foundations down. You can count on this now. Things are stabilized now. Perhaps things weren't that stable before, or you weren't sure when things were ever going to stabilize enough for you to be able to get creative instead of being in first chakra survival mode on some level. But this, now that it's there, you can let that part of it go. But now it's the next step. where you have to protect and nurture the things that are continuing to grow. You don't have to spend so much of your time on it the way that you did before, because now it's proving to survive. Now it's just a matter of decorating it, adding things to it, making it a cozy home. Looks good to me. Looks really nice and stable. Because things are at a tricky birth time right now, it is saying don't go overboard with overspending. You may want to keep track of what you've got and what your resources are, but it's not a poverty consciousness kind of feeling that I'm getting here. What I'm getting is that you have only certain resources. You're not at a complete lack of resources now. Now you feel more stable. But to keep track of what you've got and not overspend or not overdo it right now. Regulate your energy or yeah, looks good. So you right now, I'm getting a story in here. This is saying that you have been working extremely hard in the past. And part of it may have been on this whole feeding this new thing to make sure that it would survive, or knocking things out or producing things. If you thought of, this is the Eight of Pentacles, by the way. This is the work card. You have this card twice in your reading. It's the only repeat as far as I can see. You've been working extremely hard and with only a certain amount of resources or things to work with. This feels very first chakra to me, as in you needed to work that hard out of a feeling of you needed to survive, or you needed to get enough things done where you could put it out there and make money from it. I'm thinking of this. You've been pouring a lot of energy into something and learning as you went. It's reached a point now where all of your hard work has paid off, and now it's being sold or bought or traded, or it's bringing you resources back now. You had to build this thing up and work super hard in order to get it to this point, but now that it's at this point as your best possible outcome, it says the struggle is over. You don't have to think about first chakra things as in surviving. Your survival is guaranteed at this point because of how far things have gone. And so you don't have to stay in this mindset anymore of having to constantly think about having what you need or working so hard in order to have what you need. Now you have what you need coming to you easily, or coming back to you now easily. Something is returning to you or returning to its home. Things are getting a lot better. Not that you were awful before, but this mindset now has become a challenge for you, where you're realizing if you continue to stay in this feeling of that you don't have time for extra things, where you just want to celebrate and enjoy your life and play and be ecstatic. You don't have to do this anymore, or you don't have to have this mindset anymore. You don't have to worry about your own survival. You don't have to worry. You know those feelings where in your mind you have all of the things that you have to do. And even if you do force yourself to take a nap or to rest or to go play off in the woods, there's this guilty feeling or this feeling of urgency, as if you should be working right now, or you should be dealing with all of those other things that you're trying to bring into being. But this is letting go of that, where you can do this and just fully enjoy the moment and enjoy the celebrations, rather than thinking about how you should be doing this, because things are coming back to you now. So you are letting go of an old way of thinking that had something to do with constantly having to work hard in order to have what you need, or to constantly focus on your survival as if you're afraid that you won't survive. But you're realizing this and you're working on letting go of this. This feeling of that you won't have what you need. In your surroundings, you have the same card, the Eight of Pentacles, with the Three of Pentacles. This looks really nice to me. This looks as if you've reached a nice, steady, easy pace now. Things are moving forward steadily, gracefully, smoothly. You're on a roll. And not only that, whatever you've been pouring your energy into and working so hard on, it looks as if you are getting direct. Again, it's a Three of Pentacles. There's growth. There's what's the word? Unfolding. Things are unfolding. Things are growing. There is abundance and new opportunities coming out of this now. Now the bulk of the work is done, or the bulk of the focus of the work is done. Now you're seeing results in your surroundings. You may have a job opportunity or a opportunity come your way that will bring you more flow of creativity. This card is called creativity, by the way. And rather than the old subconscious way, which was to work in order to survive, now it's working with pleasure. It's working with creativity. It's working with the idea in mind of growth, or that things are continuing to get better and grow for you. It looks amazing. You may even be working on some kind of a creative work right now in your surroundings. You may be even creating an outdoor sanctuary or a garden or something beautiful that you're bringing into being. You're feeling more secure now. If you look at the woman, she looks relieved. It's like she's hanging onto the rock saying, thank goodness. You know, she's rooted to the ground as if she's a tree herself. She's completely grounded and rooted and grateful and relieved that the worst is over, that things are becoming easier, and not only that, things are getting really creative. And so your fear is that this opportunity or what you're growing will be taken away from you. I'm kind of getting a feeling of this. You're afraid your baby fawn is going to be stolen away by or killed by a fox, or come to an end, not make it, that it won't work out. And your hope is that your wish will be granted, and that to focus on gratitude. Your hope is for ultimate gratitude of what you have and what you've created. And this is really interesting. This is reminding me of, whose reading was it? Somebody just got the Queen of Pentacles as their outcome. I think it was with another ace, the Ace of Wands. This is saying your general outcome is that things are abundantly growing now. You can count on things to get so much better. And if this has had to do for someone with health issues, your health is so much better than it was before. You just feel really calm and rooted and grateful for what you have and what you've created for yourself. And also, it's with the Ace of Swords. In this, it's the Ace of Arrows. It's kind of interesting. It's up in the air above, do they call them petroglyphs? They're like ancient symbols that you can only see from airplanes that are on the earth. It's kind of like a guidance system. What's that word? What people use on their phones now? I forget. It's like an internal compass. You feel a sense of direction now. This is reminding me of this month for you. Where is it? It's effortless. As long as you trust your own internal compass, you're headed someplace. You're going someplace. Someplace really fruitful. Someplace really calm and lush and beautiful. You're seeing the results of everything that you've been doing up until now. The bumpy road has come to an end. Not only that, your sailing ship or your chariot ends up becoming an arrow or an airplane. You start flying, gliding or flying. Either way, it's somewhat of a similar feeling here. You're sailing forward towards abundance. You're about to have a great harvest. You know what? This Queen of Pentacles is reminding me of the fairy godmother from last month. I don't know if she showed up in every single person's reading, but she showed up in a lot of them so far. It makes me wonder if the fairy godmother has morphed into the Queen of Pentacles and she's in a disguise now, a more earthly disguise. It's interesting. Feels as though whatever happened, whatever huge shift you went through, even though it was almost borderline traumatic, it seems as though it knocked you out of something onto almost into an alternate reality where things come so much easier on multiple levels. And you know exactly where you're going. And you know exactly what you're capable of and what you can do. Interesting. Where is it? And this was your best possible outcome. Growth is happening for sure. Yeah, you will receive back everything that you've poured your energy into. Your baby bird is fledging. So, or your baby fawn is going to make it and be stable now and have what it needs. You will have what you need. Okay, hopefully that helped or made sense. I love you guys. Many blessings to you, and I'll see you soon for your bonus readings if you would like to watch those. Okay, bye.